Indie game development is an expensive process. Making a quality title takes a lot of time and potentially a lot of money. It's no wonder that many indie developers seek out funding to help things along. When getting into indie development, it's a good idea to make sure that you have enough capital to ensure that you have runway to finish and release your game. One thing that can help is external funding. But how can indie developers secure such capital? That's what we'll talk about today. We are Ask Gamedev, and these are 7 ways to fund your indie game. Welcome back. If you're new to Ask Gamedev, we make videos to help you learn about the gaming industry so that you can elevate your games and inspire others. If you're on a game dev journey, consider subscribing. We'd love to help you along the way. Founded in early 2010, Indie Fund is a group of independent game developers that came together as investors in an effort to fund indie developers. Your traditional investor may want a say in how the title is developed, often limiting the creative freedom of an indie developer. The goal of Indie Fund is to provide an investment solution that is more developer-friendly. Indie Fund is unique in that rather than laying out a list of expectations for indie developers to strictly adhere to, devs are given the freedom to create their game as they see fit. The investors at Indie Fund understand that their role is to help get indie titles released and not develop the games themselves. So how does it work? With a flexible budget and no milestones, developers give their best estimate as to what their full development requirements are. If the proposal is approved, an agreement outlining the schedule for funds release is signed. Repayment is straightforward, as once your indie title is released, you will repay the invested amount from the revenue proceeds from your game. Once the investment is recouped, Indie Fund requests 25% of your ongoing revenue until one of 2 things takes place. Either the shared revenue doubles the initial investment, or your title reaches its 2-year anniversary, at which point the agreement will expire and you are no longer obligated to share any more proceeds with Indie Fund. To apply to Indie Fund, simply visit their website at indie-fund.com for a full list of instructions. Just make sure you have screenshots, a short gameplay video, a playable prototype, and a short description of why your title is special. Indie titles that you may be familiar with, like Donut County, Hollow Knight, and Ape Out, were all backed by Indie Fund. Next up, we have Kickstarter, which was launched in April of 2009 and has become the benchmark for all crowdfunding communities. Creators of many different niches flood to Kickstarter in their search for support of their projects. There are a total of 15 category options to choose from. After account setup, developers get their project page ready where any and all information is provided about their planned indie title. You'll add a monetary goal for funds raised along with a deadline to meet this financial goal. Your campaign is then sent in for review, and so long as everything looks good, your campaign will be accepted, and then the marketing portion of your efforts begin. Developers are able to provide incentives to patrons who pledge certain amounts, including access to early demos, free copies of their games, and virtually anything else the developers think supporters might value. You're encouraged to interact with those who make a pledge, providing routine updates, answering questions, and responding to comments. You know, the basics of indie development public relations. If the funding goal is met by the deadline, then the pledged funds are released to the creator minus the 5% Kickstarter fee and a 3 to 5% processing fee. Kickstarter doesn't take an equity stake in the indie title, nor have any claim on future revenues. In instances where the monetary goal is not met, the pledged supporters are not charged and the developer gets nothing. This is really an all-or-nothing crowdfunding style. Consider this an additional incentive to get out there and really wow potential supporters with your upcoming title. So what happens if your project is overfunded? Well, that's just all the more funding for your project, and some devs add stretch goals to put those funds to use. Games funded using Kickstarter include Bloodstained, Pillars of Eternity, and Shovel Knight. The third crowdfunding site on our list is IndieGoGo.com. Founded in 2008, IndieGoGo is visited by approximately 15 million people per month. While initially used for funding film products, IndieGoGo has since expanded to cover any idea, charity, or startup business, including indie games. It has several similarities to Kickstarter. the most obvious one being the rewards-based system where backers can earn a reward based on the size of their donation. IndieGoGo also charges a 5% rate with a 2 to 3% processing fee. You still need to put in the necessary time and effort to market your campaign to potential backers, along with building and interacting with your community. There are two key differences that make IndieGoGo unique. First, it is well known for having a looser set of guidelines when it comes to the acceptance of campaigns and projects, meaning if your campaign is rejected on Kickstarter, you may have a higher probability of success at IndieGoGo. Secondly, IndieGoGo has two funding options, fixed and flexible. The fixed funding option works like Kickstarter's all-or-nothing model. Developers have to raise the target campaign funds or all of the pledged funds are returned to the users. The flexible funding option differs in that the creator keeps the funds raised even if their intended goal is not reached. Alongside Kickstarter, IndieGoGo is one of the top-known crowdfunding platforms. Games funded using IndieGoGo include Indivisible, Them Fightin' Herds, and Shaq Fu, A Legend Reborn. Fourth in our list is Fig.co, a crowdfunding website exclusively for games, which was founded in 2015. Much like IndieGoGo and Kickstarter, Fig.co offers the option for supporters to pledge towards the development of an indie title. And like Kickstarter, it's an all-or-nothing platform, and developers can create a reward system for pledged amounts to help encourage donations. Getting your title onto the Fig platform isn't nearly as simple as IndieGoGo. The team at Fig will judge each request based on the experience and talent of the developer, the developer's record for delivering games on time and within budget, the estimates of potential sales of the game, and the extent of the game's existing social community and fan base. If your indie title has been approved, Fig will work with you every step of the way. It's in their best interest to care about what happens before, during, and after the campaign. As your success is their success, they will put together a team of experts that will work with you to build a well-crafted campaign, develop marketing and PR strategies, and tap into a variety of publishing services based on your individual needs. What makes Fig different is that there are zero platform fees, giving them a serious leg up on the competition for pledge-based fundraising. The only upfront costs are a transaction fee, which is typically 2 to 3%. In addition to the zero platform fee, Fig provides developers the option to opt in on attracting and receiving additional funding from accredited and non-accredited investors. The investors aren't actually investing in you, but Fig via Fig Game Shares. Fig is basically a publisher for your title, and their investors are co-publishers. You and Fig will both promote and market your title, and once the revenue and profits start coming in, Fig will take their agreed-upon share and then split it up between themselves and any investors that have chosen to back your title. Some familiar titles that were backed by Fig include What the Golf, Bounty Battle, and Psychonauts 2. Next up, we have Patreon, which was founded in May 2013. Patreon is a platform that allows patrons to pay a set amount to their favorite artists either on a monthly basis or each time they create content. Setting up a Patreon page is easy. There is no review process, and so long as you remain within their terms of service, you are able to run your campaign without worry. Simply sign up, design your campaign page, set a monetary goal, and begin. The amount of effort and information put into your Patreon page is about the same as any other crowdfunding platform. You want potential backers to know what your title is about, how much work has gone into it already, and what still needs to be done. Patreon's platform fee is much like the others, at 5% plus service and transaction fees. You may be asking yourself, how does this help to fund an indie game title that is still under development? It's all a matter of what your content is. Let's take a look at 3 examples, starting with Studio Mini Boss by Pedro Medeiros. The studio spends time creating pixel art among other game dev assets. They believe that learning should be free, and by contributing financially to this idea, patrons are helping to create tutorials that will be distributed freely to the community. Each tier of contribution provides a new level of involvement in the development of these tutorials. Next is indie developers like Sockpop, who develop titles in a game jam style, with a newly released title every 2 weeks. Patrons enjoy 4 tiers of rewards, including a new game every 2 weeks, custom avatars, access to early access for larger projects, and access to the dev channel on their Discord server. This is a team that is making the most of their Patreon campaign. Our third example consists of a title you may have seen in one of our past videos, and that is Alchemy Story by Confused Hamster. An indie title in development, the single tier of just $5 rewards patrons with the option to play the newest version of the game and vote on features and characters, access to the Patreon exclusive Discord channel, and finally a Steam key once the title is completed and released. The sixth crowdfunding platform is Ko-fi, created in 2012. The inspiration came when the Ko-fi founder was looking for a way to thank an online creator who had helped with the project, even with something as simple as the purchase of a coffee. Since then, over 400,000 creators have chosen to use Ko-fi as a donation platform. So how does it work? Much like the other crowdfunding platforms, you sign up and then customize your own project page. Donations are not subscription-based, so this platform lacks the pressure to push content on a consistent basis. With Ko-fi, creators receive their donations right away, and only paying supporters are allowed access to restricted content. Additionally, Ko-fi has no platform fees, so all donations go directly to creators. Instead, Ko-fi provides the option to upgrade to a subscription-based membership, which adds quite a few features to further customize your campaign. A creator you may be familiar with that uses Ko-fi is Crashlands developer Butterscotch Shenanigans. They host a hilarity-filled podcast where listeners enjoy slapstick comedy while hearing about various game development-related topics. Before we list our last funding option, it's time for this week's Ask Gamedev community member Game of the Week, Slyway by Guaran Apps, a mobile game app available on the Google Play Store. Test your brain with this logic-based puzzle title, where you help Kurt reach an arrogant bear named Sly who enjoys hiding. With over 180 puzzles at your disposal, this puzzle title makes for a great way to pass the time. The seventh way to fund your indie game is through the Unreal Dev Grants, which was founded in February of 2015 with a $5 million development fund aimed at providing grants to creative projects that use Unreal Engine 4. What Epic is looking for is projects that make them say, wow. It doesn't matter if you're using other crowdfunding options either. Epic doesn't limit your funding options. Unlike the other funding options, this isn't an investor, nor is it a loan. So if you receive a grant, it's all yours with no strings attached. The deadlines for submissions depends entirely on the amount of funds left within the grant pool. There is no limit to the number of projects you can submit an application for, and to submit an application for your project, simply visit unrealengine.com. 3 titles that have received grant funding from Epic's Unreal Grant include Planet Alpha, Dead Static Drive, and Spellbreak. For more Ask Gamedev content on how to raise money for your development, check out this recent video we did on the best indie game publishers, or this video on how to make money from your games.